in the sunshine near MISANO. We are ready for qualifying for the second race of the weekend in the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Sprint Cup. We had a great race yesterday, full of drama, full of excitement, and we are looking forward to more of the same on another gloriously hot and sunny day here at the MISANO circuit near the Adriatic. Track temperature already 24.5 degrees. Yesterday it was a win for Dries van Poor and Charles Weert, their second of the season. They come into today as the championship leaders, now 15 points ahead of Ricardo Feller. But of course, it's a completely standalone qualifying session for a standalone grid ready for today's race. The cars making their way down the pit lane. Fast lane is open. And in a few moments' time, therefore, this 4.2 kilometre long circuit is going to play host to 20 minutes of qualifying, fast and frantic. David Addison and John Watson, trackside. John, it's a great circuit this. It gave us a really lively race yesterday, and we're looking forward to more of the same.
I think you can almost guarantee we're going to get it. We're not maybe see it as much in qualifying as only 20 minutes. It is, as you pointed out, very frenetic, but it's a brand new day and the racetrack will be marginally different. It'll be changed from what we saw on Saturday because, well, there was a variety of events. Had a chance to recover overnight. Ambient temperatures in a very comfortable region. Time that we'll be looking to see Dries van Poor and Charles Weert yesterday had pole position on a 1:32.333. So that'll be the benchmark everybody will be focusing upon, and anything that's better is going to only be good for you and your grid position. And grid position at MISANO ultimately is key to your end result.
Now, we were celebrating yesterday 30 cars, the biggest Sprint Cup grid since the end of 2017. We're down to 29 for today, I'm afraid. We have lost the Dynamic Motorsport Porsche. You can see the queue of cars building at the end of the pit lane, but the Porsche yesterday of Adrian Delina had a rather spectacular off. Look left, you'll see it bounce over the curb, and that landing has damaged the chassis of the car, and it's also damaged Adrian Delina's vertebrae. So we wish him well, but that Porsche, very sadly, John, is going no further.
Indeed, and I saw it when it happened, and now looking at it again, it's even almost more shocking because that was extremely violent, the impact, the load that went into the car, all through. I mean, I don't know what it would have done to the connection between the engine, gearbox and the chassis. Most importantly, as Adrian Delina has suffered fractures, vertebrae fractures, and that's never, ever something that one would want to hear about or see about. Wonder what it'll do for his opportunities to be in a car for Spa in what is it, just almost a month's time.
Very true. Just caught a glimpse also of the McLaren, which went really well yesterday, or so we thought, but subsequently was given a penalty for an unsafe release. Now, because it was done at the end of the race, it has to be a time penalty equating to a drive-through, which was 45 seconds. So it dropped the car way, way down from being in the top 6 to 22nd place. So it was not the result at all that the team was anticipating out of yesterday. Ollie Wilkinson and Ben Barnicoat, the drivers, and so 22nd for the McLaren at the end of yesterday after the penalty applied. Attempto, a little bit concerned about number 66. They were contemplating an engine change overnight. Haven't done it, but it'll be interesting to see what Christopher Mies is able to do. We've not really seen him in the car all weekend much because newcomer to the team, Fabien Laverne, has been doing the bulk of the driving. He put it in the gravel in his qualifying session and it had problems in his stint yesterday. So Christopher Mies didn't drive yesterday. It'll be interesting to see what he can wring out of that car, given his pace and experience. Then we'll get an idea of exactly what the capabilities of the Attempto Audi are and whether they do need to think about this engine change. 87, Konstantin Terashenko, yesterday's Silver Cup winner. And the Silver Cup, John, down to the wire yesterday. Last lap, change of lead and change back again.
I mean, great racing all through the field. Ricardo Feller tried to make a move coming down into turns 13, 14, almost got it done. And then he found himself being sort of compromised by Jack Aiken, who saw the gap, went for the gap, put himself up front position and dropped Feller down, and of course ultimately denied Feller the chance to get on terms with Terashenko.
Green flag is called by Alain Adon, the race director. We heard a lot from Alain yesterday. There was a lot going on in race control. There is Ben Barnicoat, good to go in the Jota McLaren, and 88 blast out. So Raffaele Marciello is at the helm of it. The drivers that finished yesterday's race will start today's, therefore they are going for the time. And in many cases, not all, but many, you've got the faster driver. So this promises to be a very, very spectacular session. Now, last year at Misano, there were 3 races. Raffaele Marciello and Timur Boguslawski won one of them, but Charles Weerts and Dries Van Toor won the other 2, and they've had a win already this weekend. So WRT, Audi, Weerts, Van Toor, Misano. John, it all fits together, doesn't it?
I mean, it's the perfect marriage. Appropriate here in Misano, of course. Nevertheless, I mean, it is such a competitive field. Dries Van Toor would be behind the wheel of 32, so one would say he's got to be a favourite, if not odds-on favourite, to consolidate that pole position. But I mean, just the likes of Raffaele Marciello and the 88 Mercedes, just one driver. Kelvin van der Linde, likewise, in the Audis. Any one of those drivers, Ben Barnicoat, now in the McLaren, any one of these, well, you can stick a pin in the tail of the donkey and probably get a better idea who will be on pole after 20 minutes. Well, in fact, only 18 and a half minutes.
Yeah, the time rattles by, but you're quite right. Take an entry list, take a pin, and insert part A into part B. Pick a pole position driver. Right, Raffaele Marciello up towards the line. It's not necessarily about your ability. It's not necessarily about your car's pace, but it's also, John, about the traffic. Now, let's ride with Raffaele. Let's have a look at the circuit. Let's also see how many other cars he encounters.
Well, luckily for him, I mean, there's one car coming out of the pit lane. He's got another car directly ahead of him. He will not want to get involved in traffic, and you can see how dirty it is, just the dust being kicked up going into turn 4, then you roll all the way into turn 5. It's one constant apex. Here, turn 6, this is where the incident occurred with Adrian Delina. He got out wide, and those sausage curbs were ultimately what led to the car getting so violently airborne. Then through the curve of 7, opportunities into turn 8 to brake. You're allowed here on the exit to run out to the edge of the corner over that green part of the exit of the racetrack, then up to turns 9 and 10 again. You can start your building process to try and make an overtaking maneuver, not so much in the sequence of corners, but from here down, all the way down to the entry into turn 13. And if you get on the inside of a car you're trying to overtake, you will be able to control this part here, turn 12, then into turn 13, and it's here you're off the throttle, and then into turn 4, this is what 13, 14 is again one of those double corners. Slow right down for 14, then accelerate hard up into the quick flick to the left into 15, and then ultimately into the pit lane. So that was all about. He's got purple, but of course that was his first timed lap, and he's seen something, or he's decided, I've got a car which I'm happy with, let's get a set of tyres on it, go out and consolidate it as early as possible.
Norbert Siedler, therefore, takes up the cudgels. The first proper lap time is offered up by Klaus Bachler, driving the Allied Racing Porsche, parachuted in to join Julian Apotelos. And Klaus Bachler, we know, is quick, Porsche factory driver. Konstantin Terashenko goes yet faster into the 33s. And Norbert Siedler here using all of the curb coming out of turn 15. Bad pit stop for this car yesterday did it no favours, and then Norbert Siedler got forced out wide and lost places in his stint, so the result ebbed away from Emil Frey Racing after a good stint by Albert Costa, but Norbert Siedler goes to the top, 1:33.148. Behind him is Kelvin van der Linde.
Last lap, car 163, last lap, cancelled, track limits.
Right, so he doesn't go top, Norbert Siedler. He loses the lap time for track limits, so there you go, John. Not even 5 minutes in and people are losing lap times.
I mean, I support the imposition of track limit penalties, but you know, your first flying lap, you've gone quickest overall and it's taken away from you. Well, there's nobody to blame but yourself for that, and it is incumbent upon the driver, particularly in turn 6 and turn 16, to ensure that you are staying within those limits. And there's a lot of latitude given here in turn 8, a lot of latitude given down in turn 13, 14, particularly in 13. So it's only in turn 6 and turn 16 that drivers are being basically pinged for just being a little bit too greedy with what the racetrack offers up.
Misano, as we were discussing yesterday, and you look at Dries Van Toor doing 2 purple sectors here, absolute best. Misano is a motorbike circuit as well as a car circuit, and you need a truck racing circuit, so the curbs have to be low and flat for the bikers, but therefore they really, as you see from the Audis there, encourage the cars to take all these liberties, because in many cases you can run over the curbs. They're very flat and therefore use them to your advantage. Those are the yellow banana curbs, so-called, that you need to try and stay off. But they're on the exit of turn 16. That's how you should do it. Almost skim up to them. Right, Dries van Thor should go top on this lap, and he does on a 32.099, 3/10 quicker than the Ferrari of Patrick Cuéllar. So Dries van Thor, perfect lap there.
Last lap, car 32 cancelled, track limits in turn 8.
Right, I'll take it all back, not a perfect lap. So the pole time goes, Van Thor loses his lap.
Well, I mean, I'm getting confused with the number of corners where track limit abuses are being implemented. I was told that turn 8 and others around the racetrack were being given latitude, but clearly that isn't the case. So Dries van Thor in turn 8, that lap 1 minute 32 basically is 0. A very, very good lap indeed. For nothing, Dries van Thor still, or sorry, I beg your pardon, Kevin van der Linden now, quickest overall.
Yeah, that lap has just been taken out of the system, so Van Thor has got to go again, except now it's been put back into the system, so the plot thickens, but I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of it. Jack Aitken is the best of the rest, 1:32.204, and although maybe the race results don't prove this yet, the pace in the car is very impressive indeed. Jack Aitken is now confirmed as being currently the quickest. They've taken the Dries van Thor lap out of the system, so Jack Aitken for Emile Frey Racing, 1:32.204, 300s quicker than Patrick Cuéllar, and right now we've got 17 cars covered by less than a second.
Normally it's a bit more competitive than this, but it'll probably get there by the time it's 13 minutes of the session remaining. Norbert Siedler, well, that's a disappointment, only 14th quickest. Of course, he'd done a slightly better lap. Dries van Thor, 16th, having been fastest overall, but to have that time deleted. And all, well, I'm just looking up now to see who is where, looking at the McLaren. Can't even find it at the timing and scoring right
well,
now.
Well, he's not done a time, 27th notionally, Ben Barnicoat. But yeah, this is his first flying lap, and it's a good one. Look at this, purple and green, absolute personal. So where's this going to put him, John?
Certainly into the top 3 or 4. Wait to see what happens. Ben Barnicoat comes across the line now, and he will go fastest. Excellent, 1:32.133. Fractionally slower than Dries van Thor did on that lap that then was deleted, but that lap from McLaren was done within track limits. Regrettably for Dries van Thor, he exceeded track limits.
Now you're riding with Van Thor at the moment. Look at the screen there, that sort of tear-off windscreen and all the bubbles under it. How distracting is that for a driver? Because it looks pretty bad, doesn't it?
Your depth of field and perception is looking way, way, way beyond that. You'll not actually see it. The camera picks it up, but your eyes are looking so far down the road, you're not noticing it at all. It's only when the car gets that view from onboard camera that we highlighted. Driver isn't aware. Marcello goes quickest.
He does indeed. So the Mercedes goes top, 1:32.073, and that means that now we've got 23 cars covered by less than a second. How about that? Jules Gounon is pressing on in 89 Mercedes, the car that he shares with Petru Umberescu. So Jules Gounon, no longer a Bentley boy, of course, with the withdrawal of the mark as a works team, goes to Acker, goes quickest as well. So Jules Gounon now, 1:31.973. Van Thor was briefly quickest again on a 32.015. That puts Marciello third, Barnicoat fourth.
And that lap from Gounon is the first lap we've had all weekend. Wow, 1:07, and that was pretty violent. The back end of the car got away. So I'd like to have a little look at that once again, just to see what entirely happened. But the Bentley, very, very, very rapid snap oversteer. Let's see. Oh, that's why so far offline. The back end started the pendulum effect, and it hopped, skipped, and jumped across the racetrack, and eventually ended up in the gravel trap. And it remains there. Will this be a full course yellow?
Red flag.
There's your answer. It was inevitable, wasn't it? And there's Raffaele Marciello, who was on a flyer because he'd done an absolute best in the first sector, and because of the yellows and then the red, the lap is no more. So Raffaele Marciello thwarted by circumstance. Now, just to make the point, the clock stops, but the Bentley will lose its best lap time because of being the cause of the stoppage. So 1:07, Pierre-Alexandre Jean was 8th, but it'll now have to rely on the second best lap time. The penalty for causing the stoppage is you lose your best time.
And that is the effect of gravel traps. They are very efficient.
Best lap
But if a car
time,
goes
car
into it-
1:07 at the end of the session, cancelled, causing a red flag.
But of course, if you go into those gravel traps, as we see the 107 Bentley, it does
Session will
require
restart on
outside
short
assistance.
notice. Session will restart on short notice.
And consequently, we have these full course yellows, or in this case, a red flag. I mean, I like the idea of gravel traps because it does demarcate what is racetrack and what is not racetrack, but that's the penalty of having a gravel trap by the side of the racetrack, that it does interrupt the flow of, in this case, Q2 or Sunday qualifying.
So quite a lot's happened in the first 10 minutes, hasn't it? And Jules Gounon, the fastest, just really before that red flag came. You also heard the race director say the session will restart on short notice. He wants to get the cars back out as fast as possible. So as soon as the Bentley is hoiked out of the way, he'll get the teams ready to go. There's no damage to the Bentley. It really is just a case of dragging it out of the gravel. But it's a heavy car.
Yeah, there'll probably be a few kilograms of gravel in every orifice that the Bentley has got. So dragging it, look again, watch how far wide he goes in the back end, just begins that, what I call pendulum effect. And once it had gone, all grip was effectively lost, and it was a matter of not when, but, or if, but when the car would end up in the gravel. And we're still waiting for it to get dragged out and hopefully not drag too much gravel onto the racetrack, because the outside of the corner is effectively still part of the racing line, and that will be a concern to drivers if there is gravel remaining in that part of the racetrack.
It was a good lap by Jules Gounon, wasn't it, to get himself up to the top. Now, Mauro Engel has not really delivered yet. He's only 14th fastest in the Mercedes that finished in second place in the race yesterday.
Well, there is Mauro Engel behind the wheel of the number 6. So they've done a good job. There isn't, I don't see a huge amount of gravel being dragged back. But to go back to Jules Gounon, we didn't see an awful lot of the 89 Mercedes in Saturday's 1 hour sprint race. We're seeing a lot of it right now, and if Gounon can start on pole position, that's going to change their opportunities to get a good
Fast
result.
lane open. Fast lane open.
Barwell was a class-winning team yesterday in Pro-Am, Miguel Ramos and Enrique Chavez. Enrique does this qualifying session. There's the gravel that John was talking about, falling out of every orifice. But the fast lane open means the teams now can go to the end of the pit lane. Pierre-Alexandre Jean driving it back, trying to stay offline as best he can, so that the gravel isn't all over the racetrack and therefore doesn't impede everybody else.
Green flag, green flag.
Right, we're back in business then. So some of the teams at the end of the pit lane, they're good to go. Others still with the cars up on the stilts, not yet with wheels on.
Well, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't be overly anxious, because it will take a lap or a couple of laps for the gravel that came out of the back of the 107 Bentley through turns 14, 15, and then coming into the pit lane, for that to be cleared off the racetrack. So if you lose a couple of minutes now, it will not, in my view, be of significant importance. But obviously, time lost is time lost. There's no guarantee we won't have further red flags with drivers under pressure, trying to find that ultimate lap, making an error and ending up in another one of the gravel traps around the circuit.
This is almost like Q3 of the weekend, isn't it? Because that red flag came at the halfway point. But of course now, even though they have that remaining 10 minutes, you lose at least 2 minutes by an outlap, and some of the teams not even on the move yet. So they're going to have relatively few opportunities to do the time. It's going to be pressure, pressure, pressure now.
Yes, and everybody will be looking to put on what they have as the best of their tyres for this session, whether it'll be a new tyre or whether it'll be something that has got the minimum amount of mileage on it, and it will be effectively little more than a one-lap wonder. Just go out, do your outlap, try and find track position where you're not going to come up against slower traffic, and just hope that that remains the case for the remainder of your lap. And there's going to be 29 cars all trying to do the same sort of thing, so it all adds up to congestion central.
Well, the pit lane is busy. Some of the teams biding their time, others sending the cars out quickly. There are quite a few people that have yet to do what you might expect to be a representative lap time. Norbert Siebler is one of them. Ricardo Feller is another. Klaus Bachler is only 28th. And Christopher Mies, we discussed before the session started, and the concern Attempto has about the engine in number 66 Audi. He is 29th in a car that also seemed to struggle for pace at Zandvoort.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just looking down the bottom half of the timing and scoring. I mean, Mauro Engel, we saw him briefly in the pit lane, only 14th quickest. Further down, Ezekiel Perez compact 26th. Marcus Finkelhock in the Centerlock Racing Audi, the 27 car, sharing with Finlay Hutchinson, down in 21st position. Those cars' driver combinations are all capable of getting themselves into the top 10 under normal circumstances, but how much of that circumstance will remain? 7 minutes on the clock.
And this is one of the great things about the Sprint Cup this year. You've got so many good drivers. They can't all be in the top 10, can they? Something's got to give. It makes for very competitive qualifying, very competitive racing. This is the surviving Bentley in the session, if you like. Stefan Rochelmi at the wheel of number 108. But here you go. Even now, the pit lane is still containing cars, and we're down to the last 7.5 minutes.
It's going to be very busy in those remaining 7.5 or so minutes. The Bentley runs wide, going out of turn 8. That was the corner that Dries van Thor's time was deleted from. So anyway, that time has been removed. Dries van Thor clawed himself back up into provisional second place. Still, Jules Gounon, the only car driver combination that's managed to break the 92-second barrier around this 4.2-kilometer 16-turn Misano Adriatico, or better known as the Marco Simoncelli Autodrome.
Well, Rochelmi there going way, way wide. Not quite emulating his teammate Pierre-Alexandre Jean, but using all of the real estate. Christopher Mies still in the pit lane, so is Gounon, Van Thor, Marchiello, Van der Linde, Kujala, Engel and Feller. So the circuit's still not up to its maximum number of cars. Top speed, fastest, the Bentleys. We know they're good in a straight line, 260 kilometres an hour. Pierre-Alexandre Jean before he fell off, and also here Stefan Rochelmi. Ben Barnicoat, the next fastest in a straight line in the McLaren. So, and then an Aston Martin on Nicolai Kiergaard in the second, Aston of Johnny Adams. So the British brand, very good in a straight line.
Very helpful in a circuit like Misano, because the straight is where you can really... just watching what's happened to Dries van Thor trying to get out of the way of the Bentley, and rather sort of tripping over itself as Kevin van der Linde follows behind in the Gulf liveried Audi. Oh, problem for 93. What's going on? Oh no, he's just, again, maybe just keeping out of the way, coming up, preparing for the final turn, turn 16. So lets the Audi go through. As well, where is Norbert Siedler? There he is.
So that's a start-up lap, isn't it? Not green, not purple, so there's more to come from Norbert. Through he goes, 21st, but that's a long, long way down, so there is certainly more to come. Raffaele Marchiello is out on track. At the moment, you've got the cars that are fastest and slowest as the remaining two in the pit lane, Jules Gounon and Christopher Mies. But I'm getting more concerned about the Attempto Audi. It has only done 5 laps. It's still in the pit lane, and it does suggest all is not well there.
Well, they rolled the dice. The engine got up to 130 Celsius, which is way above what its operating temperature would ordinarily be. Wow, 25 Audi Tomita, purple sector 1, we didn't see that coming. Let's see what happens in sector 2. Can he maintain that level of performance out of turn 10 onto the back straight? First part of the dogleg turn, as a curve, really not even a turn. Then you've got 12, which is very similar. Personal best could see the 25 Audi challenging either the current provisional pole Mercedes of Gounon or the other front row provisional sitter Dries van Thor. Excellent effort indeed by the young Japanese driver.
Absolutely. So Tomita in the WRT car, here it is, Audi 31, 25th at the start of the lap, and it should be a big, big gain there now. Absolute best sector 1, personal best sector 2, up towards the timing line. He'll break the beam now and leap up from 25th to 3rd.
114 cancelled, track limits in P13.
Right, 114 is Jack Aitken, having a lap time taken away. So he's fastest at the moment, Jack Aitken, 1:31.936, but that lap he's going to go. So it's another turbulent session. Jules Gounon is going to survive, and that's also going to put Tomita up to 2nd, potentially.
Indeed, so Gounon had done the time, sorry, Jack Aitken had done the time on board, with Dries van Thor coming down this back dogleg straight. Fastest in sector 2, and really just now lines it up. Be careful not to run too wide here, because that could see that time being deleted. That's where Jack Aitken got done. His time was deleted, so Dries van Thor navigates turn 14, then quickly, just breeze the throttle going through turn 15. Stays away from those sausage curves. lines up, gets a good straight exit off the final turn. Can he get back onto pole position? Currently in 4th. Yes, he does.
Very good lap indeed. Dries van Thor and Kelvin van der Linde there behind him goes 2nd. So the margin between them 65 thousandths. We've got the leading 24 covered by less than a second. This is Jack Aitken, who is 9th at the moment and set to improve as he goes over the line to go 2nd to split the Audis. So Jack Aitken, in fact, equals Van Thor's time. Johnny Adam goes fastest of all in the Aston, 1:31.687. Johnny Adam goes top, but to the 1,000th, Jack Aitken equalled Dries van Thor's time. But because Dries did it earlier, he gets the higher grid position.
I mean, amazing between the two Audi drivers, but what a result for Garage 59. Johnny Adams, provisional pole with 2.5 minutes of the session remaining. I mean, wow, I mean, amazing to see that Aston. If it can consolidate its provisional pole start from pole position, will we have an interesting race? Certainly up until we come to those mandatory pit stops, 25 to 35 minutes to go. Wow, I cannot wait.
Yeah, because Johnny races in this championship in Pro-Am, kind of gets forgotten about a little bit, but here it's just down to him. We know he's quick, multiple British GT champion, Le Mans class winner, Pro-Am champion in the Endurance Cup. The CV is a very, very impressive one, and Johnny reminding people just how quick he is, but Dries van Thor is on a mission as well. He has done a personal best in the middle sector, but he lost out a little bit in the first. We've got just about time for another lap at the end of the one he's about to start, because he goes across the line now to stay 3rd.
So probably the top end of the performance of the Pirelli Tower has gone. All he needs to do now is make sure he hits his marks, gets all those apexes, but principally doesn't overrun on the exit of the corners around here. And because we've explained this is a dual circuit usage, or certainly triple cars, motorcycles and trucks, we've got these extremely flat curves which invite drivers to use it to try and get an extra little bit of speed into the corner, but primarily speed off the corner. Patrick Kujula in 2nd place in that Ferrari. An Aston Martin and a Ferrari provisional, front row of the grid, absolutely magic.
So you've got a Pro-Am car fastest, a Silver Cup car 2nd, and then the best of the overall class, if you like, 3rd, Dries van Thor. There's less than a lap time left in the session now. Johnny Adam has pitted, so having taken the top time, I think he's timed that well, because there are no purples coming. There are drivers still pushing. There are sector improvements. They're greens, they're not purples. Mauro Engels just got up to 7th, and Jack Aitken continues to push on here, doesn't he?
He does indeed. He's got personal best, Sector 1. Dries van Thor, who's just further down the road, has got personal best in Sector 2, but his Sector 1 time, that little bit away from maybe allowing him to move forward from his provisional 2nd grid. There he comes across start-finish line in his 2nd now, so currently 3rd, stays 3rd. Watch Jack Aitken, he's the only other car I can see that's likely, if looking further down. Fred Babiche has gone well, Ricardo Feller and Enrique Chavez, so all doing personal best. Jack Aitken losing time in the middle sector.
So this is going to be the last lap for Jack Aitken. Flag out, as you see on the graphic, and as you've just heard. So Jack Aitken sideways as he storms out of turn 16, pushing up to the line, breaks the beam, stays 4th fastest. But that's been a good effort by Jack Aitken. So 4th quickest, Adam, Kujula, Van Thor, Aitken, Marcello, van der Linde, provisionally the top 6. Fascinating grid.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful to have an Aston and a Ferrari completely against all we had anticipated. So two brands that we normally don't see starting together, front row of the grid, are going to be those two brands that are going to lead this field off on the parade lap in a couple of hours' time.
Now this is Mauro Engel, who is still trying hard. Personal best, as you see, in Sector 1, but down in Sector 2. Gets the line absolutely right, whereas the Audi behind does run wide and just rattle over those so-called yellow bananas. Engel stays 7th then. Jules Gounon, I don't think, went out after the stoppage, and as a result has been bumped down to 8th place.
Yeah, that's maybe a disappointment, but, well, I don't know whether they had any more fresh rubber. Watch Ben Barnicoat, he's currently in 9th. Nothing spectacular in the opening 2 sectors. Second one slightly down on his previous best. Comes across the line, might make a 1 position. No, he doesn't, stays in 9th.
But he's in the mix, isn't he, going into the second race of the weekend coming up later on in the day. But Johnny Adam, standout effort. We'll no doubt hear from Johnny in due course. The what is he now, 4 times British GT champion, very much part of the Aston Martin family. There is the car that he shares in Pro-Am with Alexander West. And Johnny Adams starting from pole position. Excellent effort, just to remind people how quick he is, if there was any doubt. But a brilliant job done by Johnny.
I think also what's very impressive to me is the fact that Aston Martin, we don't get to see them running at the front as we've previously done on pole position.
Well, let's just look at the provisional order. Johnny Adam the fastest by 11 thousandths of a second. How about that from Patrick Kujala? Dries Van Thor and Jack Aitken tied on time, but Dries gets third because he did it sooner. Jack Aitken starting fourth, ahead of Raffaele Marciello and then Kelvin van der Linde. Seventh is the Mercedes in the hands of Mauro Engel, ahead of the similar car of Jules Gounod. McLaren ninth, Ben Barnicoat, and a good effort from Raichiro Tomita to be 10th, ahead of Yusufa Pohaka, Fred Van Vies and Ricardo Feller. 14th from Pro-Am, another good effort this, Enrique Chavez, and then Pierre-Alexandre Jean 15th, of course, losing his best lap time as the cause of the red flag. Starting 16th for Santalok in number 25 Audi, Christopher Hauser, ahead of Nikolai Schiergaard, then Dominic Baumann. But let's hear from the man of the moment. Johnny Adam takes pole position. He's with Gemma Scott.
Johnny, showing that you still got what it takes, a fantastic lap time and slightly unexpected, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the car's been good all weekend, and we didn't really show it much yesterday, but a little bit of small damage in the race. But we made a few changes overnight and the car came alive this morning, really good. Found a bit more time on the second set of tyres, which, yeah, gave me a bit more confidence to sort of get the lap time. But yeah, I was shocked at the lap time. It was a clean lap, but mega for the team, you know. Aston Martin racing in Garage 59, I put so much effort into this project, you know, and it's nice to reward Alex West with obviously pole position overall. But our focus is on the class. Obviously, we've got a little bit of a buffer now to the Pro-Am second place car. So, but yeah, it's lovely to start on pole overall.
Absolutely, and can you convert that to race pace?
Yeah, I think so. I think the car felt good yesterday in the heat. We've got a few small changes to make for later on, but yeah, it's just nice to be on pole at the moment. But yeah, this afternoon we'll definitely push on and see what we could do.
Well done, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to back up that point, Johnny yesterday, or Alexander West's qualifying effort, put the car in traffic, and of course, contact early on resulted in a 5-second penalty being applied. Here, that car's going to start in clear air on the front row, so it'll be a totally different sort of a race for that car. Let's look at the highlights then of that qualifying session. Cars pouring out onto the circuit. Norbert Siedler was the first driver really to show for pole position, only to lose the lap time before exceeding track limits. Dries Van Thor was another man that was in a big hurry, so too Ben Barnicoat. Dries Van Thor went fastest, only to lose a lap time, and Jules Gounod had just put himself up to the very top for ACA ASP before the session was halted after Pierre-Alexandre Jean had this big lose coming up towards turn 13, and around he went and into the gravel. Red flag to get the car out of harm's way, and when the session restarted, it was going to be all about the battle for pole position on a new set of tyres. Just over half the session remained. Dries Van Thor went to the very top and was able to fight back, with Raichi Tomita, another driver, improving all the time. But in the end, it was Johnny Adam who came storming through to take the top time by 11 thousandths of a second, and it has teed us up nicely for a brilliant battle later on in the day. We'll see you for the race action. For now, from Misano, it's goodbye.